So now we go to our evaluation questions. We have our process questions. The first one saying, to what extent are participants being reached and educated as intended? To what extent did the program implement the nutritional and meal preparation workshops as intended? To what extent did the program implement the physical exercise curriculum as intended? We also have our outcome questions. To what extent did the program achieve its objective of improving dietary practices and increasing daily fruit and vegetable consumption among participants? To what extent did the program achieve its objective of increasing physical activity patterns among participants? To what extent did the program achieve its objective of promoting healthy weights among participants? And to what extent did the program address the childhood obesity in the Roseland community? Now on to our evaluation design. Our evaluation will be one group pre-test and post-test design, as this will allow us to assess participant change in terms of diet, physical activity, and weight loss. To achieve this, the registered dietitian and licensed physical trainer will conduct an initial assessment pre-intervention to establish baseline participation characteristics. Then following participation in the 1 year program, the aforementioned staff will conduct a final assessment post-intervention to evaluate participant change. There will be no comparison group, which is one disadvantage to this chosen evaluation design. However, evaluation will only focus on those that receive the intervention, which includes 100 school-aged children ages 6 through 12 in the Roseland community. Measures will not be repeated over time. Data types. The data collection in our evaluation will focus on three main components. 1. Dietary patterns. 2. Exercise practices. And 3. Weight. Firstly, data will include the amount of daily fruit and vegetable consumption before and after the program participation. Secondly, data will include the amount of weekly physical activity pre- and post-intervention. Finally, data will assess the amount of weight change as a result of program participation. The pre- and post data for each of these three components will be compared to assess change as a result of program participation. Evaluation standards. Utility. The utility standard ensures that the evaluation is both useful and relevant to stakeholders. To ensure that our evaluation achieves the utility standard, we plan to involve stakeholders in the design and development of the evaluation. Such collaboration and partnership through the evaluation design process will ensure that the evaluation appropriately meets the needs and expectations of our stakeholders. Feasibility. In comparison, the feasibility standards refers to the effectiveness and efficiency. Evaluations can be quite complex and costly, thus it is important to design them in a practical and realistic manner. Thus, we plan to conduct a literature review of effective and affordable evaluations to inform the design of our evaluation. Moreover, we plan on developing an evaluation budget and protocol to ensure the assessment efforts will not deplete our finite resources. Propriety. The propriety standard refers to the legality and fairness of evaluations. Thus, to achieve this standard, it is important to ensure that the evaluation does not introduce conflict nor is morally detrimental. Accordingly, we plan to design evaluations that are culturally competent. Moreover, we will obtain formal agreements from all participants, highlighting what the evaluation will entail. Thus, they will have the option to opt in or opt out if it contradicts their beliefs or values. Finally, because participants are school-aged children, we will need parental consent for both participation and evaluations. Accuracy. Finally, the accuracy standard focuses on the truthfulness of the evaluation. Moreover, specifically, this standard ensures that the evaluation is valid and possesses scientific rigor. To achieve this standard, we will ensure that those in charge of the data collection and data analysis are similarly trained to follow an in-depth, systematic protocol. In turn, this will increase the likelihood that data collection and analysis are both reliable and consistent. Measure of change and success. To measure where participant change occurred in terms of dietary practices, physical activity, and weight loss, scores will be calculated and compared before and after the program participation. The aforementioned change will be calculated as follows. Amount of change is equal to the sigma of each post-program score minus each pre-program score divided by the total number of paired scores. To measure the extent which the program was able to achieve its intended objectives, we will utilize the effectiveness ratio. Ratios that are closer to 1 indicate program success. The equation for the program follows. Effectiveness ratio is equal to post-program score minus pre-program score divided by target score minus pre-program score. Data collection. As the program focuses on improving dietary practices, increasing physical activity, and reducing body weight, we believe that the most appropriate method of data collection is a questionnaire because the participants are children, and the parents will have to complete the questionnaire on behalf of the children. Both the dietary practices and physical activity will be self-reported. The body weight will be measured using a scale. The registered dietitian and licensed personal trainer, along with program staff and volunteers, will be able to collect the data. The data collected at the beginning of the first group session, pre-intervention, and again at the end of the final group session, post-intervention. We will conduct a literature review to identify existing questionnaires that may inform the design of our intervention. However, we want to tailor specifically to our target audience in Roseland. These questionnaires will be stored electronically via a survey database such as REDCap. There will be a unique participant identifiers to maintain confidentiality. We do not plan on collecting secondary data. So now to our evaluation timeline. In year 1, we have our program planning from January to April, evaluation development from May to July, stakeholder engagement from January to July, program implementation from August to December, and pre-program assessment in August. So we jump to year 2, where we have our program implementation from January to July, a continuation from year 1. We have our post-program assessment, which will be in July. We have our data analysis, which will be from August to October, data interpretation in the month of November, and we'll communicate our findings starting in December of the second year. Data analysis. The outcome data for our pre- and post-program assessments will be quantitative in nature. We are unsure if we would have normal distribution of data, and we will anticipate some outliers. Thus, our data will be non-parametric. The level of analysis will occur at an individual level as our program is assessing the individual level of changes in terms of dietary practices, physical activity, and BMI before and after program participation. However, we'll also incorporate some aggregate levels of analysis through descriptive statistics, including mean and standard deviation. Then to compare the before and after groups to determine if they point to the same population, if they are significantly different. To achieve this, we will perform a Wilcoxon sign ranks test, as this is the most non-parametric test that correlates for the student t-test for related samples. Data interpretation. The program director, along with the MPH graduate student volunteers from Loyola University Chicago, will interpret the evaluation findings. Moreover, they will critically assess the statistical findings, formulating an appropriate conclusion. The program director has a background and long-term career in public health, namely biostatistics. The graduate student volunteers have all taken biostatistics and an epidemiology course. Thus, these individuals possess unique skills in interpreting findings and justifying conclusions. Evaluation utilization. We plan to produce and publish a report that will incorporate a brief overview of the implementation and evaluation outcomes. This report will be distributed to all stakeholders involved, as well as local public health departments located through the Chicago metro area. Our hopes are that the program plan can be shared with local municipalities for widespread dissemination, if it is indeed shown to have a positive impact on addressing childhood obesity. On the contrary, if the program was deemed ineffective, our report could shed light upon failures and needed areas of improvement. The key takeaway that we receive from this is the critical role that community members play in informing the design of health programs. We would not have been able to come up with an intervention if we did not interview key community members that helped us assess the situation, find out our community needs and our community wants, and be able to navigate and negotiate that space that we can come out with a way to create this intervention in order to fight childhood obesity in the Roseland area. We would like to end with a quote from the former First Lady Michelle Obama about childhood obesity. Childhood obesity is critically important to the health and success of our kids and this nation ultimately. This is the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for watching. You guys have a wonderful day.